decorate it later. Then I made that cringe orb spam that we all know. Afterwards, I made this small duo part.
Hello guys, I'm back live.
And for the last,
Yeah,
I
we're
made a
back to
part
playing Deadlocked.
inspired on the most
Whoops,
iconic
macro
club
on.
step section in my opinion.
I was just like
That
making a
part
level.
with a lot of club step monsters and also
Yeah, actually the level
this
I'm making is
thing
like 2.1
that I
decade
don't really know
Deadlock
what
themed.
is, but I still think it
But
looks
yeah,
horrifying.
I'm back
Its
live
main
again.
gameplay is
Now I'm
based
trying to
on
beat my
and,
record
yeah,
again.
as you can tell,
Should
this
probably get a
level
little bit
is
more
going
warmed
through
up.
a lot of change and
But, oh well.
once it's done. Enough of gameplay because now it is decoration time. And to be honest, I had absolutely no idea what to do here. Like for real, I just kept staring at this screen for literal 30
Though my nose is
minutes.
stuffy.
Then I just started making some random stuff and trying to figure out how I could make this to actually look good. The first thing I decided to decorate were the spikes. And the first spike I did was this one. When I finished it, to be honest, I just thought it looked straight up bad, so I just decided to redo it. And instead of just spamming a lot of spikes, I tried this different concept. And to be honest, I really liked it. Then, for it not to get too repetitive, I made a different spike. And now, the legendary fire spikes from this flip-step monster are done. After finishing the spikes, I had to work on this.
Every time I get to like
monster.
25
to be honest,
to 26%, I always die.
what to do on it. See, the first flip-step monster from Silent Flip-step is just straight up empty. And of course, I didn't just want to leave it like that. I had to make something on it, even if it's something simple, you know. So I started to mess around and try to make some random stuff on it. The first thing I tried to do was to sort of scar on his eye, and to be honest, I thought it looked pretty good. After doing it, I really thought about just leaving it like that. The monster was already looking pretty complete, but yeah, no. If you already know me, I really like to go for extra things. So I just decided to make some lines and some low bright details into it. To be honest, it ended up looking pretty good. Here's the comparison between the old and the new one. Seeing it now, I did a really good job at remaking this monster in my opinion. After it, I decided to make some ground spikes on that orb stem section, but I didn't go for something too complicated here as well. I just put some lines on it, some roots, some saws, and some bright details in general, just for it not to look that empty. And yeah, this small first section is basically done. Now it is time to start making the dual part of the level. If you have ever seen Silent Flip-step, you already know that infamous dual part. Like seriously, that part is actually so hard, I can't beat it without no clip. But anyways, as you can see, it has some pretty simple decoration. It just basically uses some white connectors on the middle of the part, and it has a very grayish setting in general, so that's not gonna be hard to remake at all in my opinion. I'm just gonna be placing some random white connectors on the middle of the screen, alongside with some glow and some extra details in general. Also, I'm gonna be making a smaller version from it and reducing its opacity so it becomes a small little background just for this section. And for the last, I made both of these connectors to move leftwards a little bit to give a little more of dynamism to the parts. So yeah, the second section is basically done. Now, the only thing that we have left to be done is the legendary and extremely hard ship section. To be honest, I really wanted to go for something simpler for this part. As you can see, I just put some totally black flip-step monsters around it. Also, I made some ground spikes and I put those small little details on them, pretty similar to Silent Flip-step in general. After that, I made a T3 glow on top of it all because why not? The T3 glow never fails when it comes to amazing me. And then it was time to make the saws. As you can see, Silent Flip-step saws are very simple, like they barely have any decoration on them, so I decided to go for something kind of simpler as well. And for
32,
that,
not
I
bad.
just stamped some of those far-edged saws, and I don't know if I like how it looks that much, but screw it, that we have to do it. Then I decided to make a 3D on the monsters as always, and to be honest, this section is getting better than what I expected for sure. For the last block deco of the part, I had to decorate this gigantic thing, in which I still don't know what it actually is. Anyways, as you can see, there small monster face on the top part of this, so I just decided to turn this thing into a whole black monster. It's gonna be like a monster inside a monster, you know? And while I was doing it, I accidentally made this arm to be behind the black squares, and it created this funny little monster face. Just for the funny, I'm going to keep it like that. I don't care. I just made some more black squares into the down part of this structure, and then I put some bright details and glow in front of them, and
Oh, my
it
hand.
ended up looking pretty good. And since this structure is gigantic, I got very lazy to make the 3D on it, so I'm gonna just leave it for later and just make the air deco on the level. To be honest, Silent Clipstep barely has any air deco, so I really wanted to make the air deco from this part really simple. I just put some small arrows on the middle of the Clipstep monster's mouth, as you can see here, and I put some bigger arrows right after it, just like that. I also made a random glow laser on it. I don't know, I just thought it would fit, I guess. For the second section, I made no air deco at all, because I think it doesn't really need it, to be honest. The last section surely needs it though. When I started making the air deco from this part, I somehow got distracted, and when I woke up from my daydreaming, I had done this extremely over-decorated arrow that surely didn't fit to the part, so I just deleted it right after. Dude, I really had to take care not to get distracted in this game. Holy moly. So basically, I just did some very simple arrows with glow on this part in general, and that was about it. After doing the air deco, I made the 3D on that gigantic structure, as I promised, and seeing it now, it was actually pretty easy to do it. I just filmed a lot of corner 3D details in general, and it was basically done just like that. The next victim from the Ultimate Extreme Demon is the Golden. So, as you may already know, the Golden has a really simple gameplay. It doesn't have a lot of transitions and crazy stuff going on, like most of Extreme Demons. So I'm just gonna keep things simple here. I'm gonna make the first section inspired on the first part of the level, in which the gameplay is mostly made of UFO. The second section is gonna be inspired on that wind ship part, because that part is pretty sick, to be honest. And the last section will be inspired on the iconic The Golden Wave. Oh my god, look at this. This goes intense. Now let's start decorating the first section. As you can see, actually as you can't see because I can't see nothing, this part looks quite simple, so it isn't gonna be too hard to remake it. The first thing I'm gonna be doing here is the block design. And even though the golden blocks are barely visible at all, I'm gonna be making something that you can at least, you know, see. So yeah, I really wanted to keep that jungle temple theming on this part, because that's the theming that the golden follows, or at least it is supposed to. And for the base of the blocks, I'm gonna be putting some bricks and some small ground spikes into it. Also, I'm gonna make a small lightning point on the top middle of it, because I think that's gonna look kinda sick. Now, I will just make a lot of outlines and a 3D on this block, and since the golden spike deco is really simple, I will be just making some really simple spikes here, and it's basically done. I think I managed to reach my goal with this block, to be honest. It really looks like the golden block, but remade, and most importantly, actually visible. Okay, I think I should stop roasting this level. I'm probably going too far with it. After finishing this block, I just made some more structures, and
No way!
I just
72! How?
from it.
72! I got 72!
Pasted blocks as well.
Bro.
I gave myself the freedom to do it. After doing the blocks, I decided to
How
go
did I
and make the
freaking
saws.
jump
I
from
just made some really
33 to
simple ones,
72 on
kinda inspired
deadlocked?
the golden saws,
How?
obviously, and as
How
you
is
can
this
see here, I just
possible?
put them in random places of the
Is
parts.
it
Right
the
after it,
YouTube
I
on the
did
side of the
some really
screen
simple
that's
ground
helping me?
spikes using those triangular details and some of those chains, and this is how it is looking like so far. Now, since the golden barely has any air deco at all, and I didn't want to just make a black glow overthrow in here to fill up the empty space, I decided to come up with something new. And this thing was, I decided to add some vines to it.
Bro,
because I thought it
how?
would fit to the jungle
How did I
temple
do that? that?
don't know.
How
just
did I
put
do
that
that? My
round
hands are
detail, put some
shaking.
triangles on it to resemble spikes, and then just connected them to
I
some
literally,
details of the
I'm
parts, just
shaking
like
right
that.
now.
I
How
also
did
made
I
some
just
more
do
lines
that?
on the background
How
and
did I
put some
just
red
jump from
pseudo arrows on
33
them.
to
And for the rest,
72?
just to ensure that this part isn't
Is
gonna
it the
look
power of the
empty,
gummy
I am just gonna
worm?
put some small diamond
How did
shaped
I
air
just get
deco
72
stains in the
on
middle of the part,
deadlocked?
and I
Why am I
think
talking
this
like
is
that?
looking
Why do
really
I
good
sound
so
like that?
far. Now I will just
Yeah.
select all, don't fade, don't enter, edit object,
Oh well.
remove glow, this
Back to
select,
streaming.
and save and exit.
I am not making it back there for a long time now.
Okay, so after spending 3 hours fixing that small mistake, it was time to start doing the second section. And for that, as I've already said, I'm gonna do something inspired on this part right here with these two greenish flipstep monsters. So I started to make their structures, and as you can see,
No,
I
text
already
me back.
changed a lot of things on it. For their details, I just made a bunch of lines and a lot of random bits of visual details, and this is how it ended up looking like. I honestly really like it. Now I'm gonna just copy and paste it
It's
because
just,
the golden
I'm
does
just
the same
28%
thing,
away
except
from
I'm
beating
gonna change
Deadlocked.
this spike position just like that. Around these monsters, I'm gonna make
I
a
would have
really
died to the
simple
ship part
broad
anyways.
spike, and in the middle of it, I'm gonna put a kind of buried block design. And to finish it, since the middle part of it looks pretty empty, I am just gonna put some glow lasers on it because why not? Now, it is time for what we all have been waiting for, the wave part. As you can see, this part, just like every other the golden part, has a lot of square and rectangle shaped designs and also a lot of copy and paste. But it also has those little connectors on the block design in which I honestly hate to see them. Like, for me, once you put a connector detail into a block, it is over. Your entire
That is one of my
design
best
is
flukes.
ruined. Anyways, since this is a Golden remake, I am gonna have to put connectors in
35 though,
this
that's
section.
still good.
I
Saying
hate
that,
myself. I just did a pretty
bro.
basic structure here. Then I put a small connector detail on the top part of it, and I put a little grass thing under it. So I don't know, it looks better this way. I
72 is
guess.
a decent
Then,
fluke
of
though.
course, I spent a lot of lines and glow as I always do, and then I copy and pasted the details from this block to other like 5 designs. And then I copy and pasted the blocks all around the part and the designs are done. Yes, as you can tell, I really like copy and pasting things. Now, for the ground spikes of this part, I went for something a little bit different. So, as you can see, the stalls of this part on the golden have this small little thing inside them that I don't really know what it is called, I'm sorry. But honestly, this thing is an object in which I barely see being used. So we're gonna be one of the 8 people who have ever put this object in their level. I'll just put it behind
My
it
hands are
here,
still shaking
alongside
from
with
that
some black
72
decoration
run.
in the middle of it. And we're gonna put
Not
this
really
here
from
into
excitement, I was
top
more
part
of just
the
like
ground spikes,
trying to see if I could
like
just
that.
beat it right then and there.
For the ground spikes decoration, I'll just put
That's
some
close to that
green
dang
details
shiver
into
fluke
it,
I
and
had.
then I'll just spin it
30,
around the
yeah, it was
part.
actually like
See,
33
now,
to
this
100
part
for my
looks
shiver
kinda mid, to
fluke.
be honest, but so does the golden, so we don't talk about that, okay? As you can see, the golden in general has a lot of black details on the T3 layer, and I personally find it to be very not
I have a
good
hand
looking,
cramp. Ow.
but since this is a remake from this level, I'll have to somehow incorporate it into this part. I'll just put some random black details in T3 and turn up their scaling a lot. Then I'm gonna make them all move leftwards for this part. I was really out of ideas since the golden has practically no air deco at all. So I decided to go and try to make something different for it. I
I have
just picked
hand
up
cramp.
these chains details, increased their scaling, and then put
Well,
an
one
arrow
second,
in
I'm gonna
front
take
of
me
them.
like a
After
5-minute
that,
break
I
or
just
something.
spread it over the parts just like that. Right after I did it, I realized it looked extremely ugly, so I just removed it. I was literally dying inside because I genuinely couldn't think about anything to make here for the air deco. But then I decided to check the wave part of the golden again, and when I did it, I realized there are actually some small pieces of air deco into it. It being this random really low opacity and ugly chains. So I just kinda did the same thing for this part, and it actually looks pretty good. I mean, they'll have to do it. And the wave section is basically done. To finish the golden remake, I will just extend this part a little bit rightwards, so it works like a small transition to the next one, just for it not to look empty. And the next extreme demon we are gonna be remaking is the hallucination. Okay, so before starting, I have to tell you guys something. Before this guy commented this, I actually didn't know about the hallucination at all. I had literally never heard about this level in my entire life. But then, when I got to see it for the first time, I automatically fell in love with it. Just the atmosphere, the good glow usage, and the details. I really like the hallucination in general. This level is the best 9 circles extreme demon in the game in my opinion. With that said, let's start doing it already. This is literally my first time making a 9 circles level gameplay, so yeah, forgive me if it ends up looking terrible. I'm basically gonna try to make a gameplay similar to the hallucination in general. I'll be adding a lot of portals, mini wave, and a UFO game mode here in the middle of nowhere, because I think it's really gonna remind the hallucination. And yeah, in about 1 hour I was able to get this gameplay done, and this is how it looks like. Now, let's start decorating it. And I must say, when I started doing it, I already realized it would not be an easy task at all. The hallucination, as you guys can see, is a really good level on its own. It's basically perfect. It has good colors, good poses, nice details, and overall, it's a really nice looking thing. For this reason, I'm gonna have some trouble on remaking it for sure. I'm gonna start it by making some 9 circles poses so the decoration can pose like this. Then I'm gonna make the block designs. When I was making it, I was really out of ideas. My mind was literally empty. I was basically just making a lot of bevels of blocks and a lot of random details, as you can see here. But then I started to observe better how the hallucination blocks are made, and then I started to actually make something decent here. I made some glow around the block, some glowy details into the base, some ground spikes, and then I decided to make a black glow in the bottom part of it, and it actually worked out pretty well into this structure. So far, this block was looking pretty good, but to be honest, it was looking way too similar to the hallucination. So I decided to add some stuff coming directly from my style into it. It's just 3D and some really over decorated spikes just like that. Even though I have never decorated an actual 9 circles level in my entire life, I'd say this looks pretty good. At least for my first 9 circles block, it does. Now I will just make a similar thing to the mini wave structures, and yeah, I can say now that I am really feeling the flow of remaking the hallucination. You know, I don't see 9 circles levels being made in this game too often, but if there is one thing I really like about these levels, this thing is all the blocks are practically the same. You rarely will see any variation between blocks and structures in NC levels, and of course, for the hallucination, it wouldn't be different. As you can see, practically all the blocks from this level look literally the same thing. There are some small little variations here and there, but in general, the majority of the blocks look identical. And of course, I will take advantage of that. I'll basically just copy and paste these blocks a lot into this part. Like, I can't even describe the amount of copy and paste I'm using here. And to be honest, it feels really nice to do it. It's almost like I'm using a cheat code for decorating faster or something like that. However, since there are some different structures here in which I unfortunately cannot copy and paste anything into them, I will just decorate them just like I decorate the blocks, except I will make some extra details on them, and I will add some small variations and fading lines just like that. For the last, I'll be decorating this structure right here with this giant gap in its middle. I'll basically add the same details I add to the blocks, but of course I will just make some small variation and it's basically done. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I cannot even believe I actually managed to finish this that fast. Man, I love making 9 circles levels. Now it is time for the air deco. For me, the air deco from this level kinda reminds me from Akron's one, in a sense that this level does not have a lot of arrows and things guiding you to in a specific way. It just has a lot of details thrown randomly around the part, such as connectors, barely visible arrows, these kinda hexagons, and of course, the saws. And speaking of saws, we are gonna start it by remaking those. The hallucination saws seem to be pretty easy to make, to be honest. I'm just gonna spam a lot of saws here, and then I'm gonna put some glow behind it and in front of it, just like that. Also, I will do a little variation for this small saw blade. Basically, it looks the same thing as the big ones, with less glow and, of course, less spam. After the saws, I proceeded to make the rest of the air deco from this level. Basically, the first thing I wanted to make is this effect right here, with these kind of hexagons and these small bright lines. I basically just placed some black hexagons and put some really bright glow behind them, and then I just put some black glow upon them, and it was basically done. It's a really simple but really nice effect, and I really like how it looks like. Now I'll just make some very subtle arrows with some of these lines around them, some blocks walls with very low opacity arrows in the middle of them, and also I will put these small things around the part just like that. I'm also gonna put some small low opacity connectors just like the ones from the hallucination, except I'll use my style to make them. And for the last, even though this level originally does not have any kind of high bright arrows guiding the way the player should go, since I'm using my style to remake it, I will be adding some of those. I don't know, I really think they will fit pretty well into this part. Also, I'm gonna put a really low opacity T3 glow on this part, just like that. I'm sorry, I can't avoid making the legendary T3 glow. Speaking of glow, the hallucination has some really bright glow effects that I don't really like how they look like in general, but I will be adding one of them into this part. I will just spam a lot of glow lasers and reduce their scaling just like that. I'm also gonna make them to appear in the exact moments the player is going through this small wave corridor, so it creates this kinda cool effect. And the next extreme demon I'm gonna be remaking is Firework. Let's just start it by making the gameplay of
Look
this
how
part.
beautiful
As you
it
can
is.
see, Fireworks gameplay
All you need is like a light up
mostly
here,
made of
though.
orbs and
Yeah, I mean, I had
stars
this,
and
but-
orbs.
Oh, yeah,
So let's just make a lot of orbs here
I mean, it
and
makes- oh, you
a
should,
lot
like,
of
raise it
average
some.
extreme
Yeah, I
demon
know.
timings just like that.
So
This
Am I
gameplay
staying the
will
night at your
appear
house?
and the
Oh,
other
no.
half will be a shape.
Wait, why is
I'm
your
gonna make
monitor
it
like that?
inspired on Conti's
Huh?
Firework
Do
art
this.
because I